Brought to you by patreon.com/inspireddisorder and inspireddisorder.com/Kindle.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
UFC 252 just happened this past Saturday. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic 3, the rubber match, the retirement match for DC. And thankfully, I mean, I was hoping Miocic would win. Big fan of Miocic. Daniel Cormier, although everybody loves Daniel Cormier, I think it's I'm not as big of a fan of Cormier necessarily. Like, I respect his fighting ability. I respect what he's done with his career. I felt bad with the eye poke, even though there were mutual eye pokes going both ways, and Daniel Cormier kind of an eye poker. Like, he's a guy that pokes a lot of eyes in a lot of fights. I know there was a small window of time where people were trying to kind of put that on John Jones as being the guy that pokes a lot of people in the eye, and he did. He did a long, long time ago. But DC has been very... I think he picked up that baton and ran with it. And once John Jones started having all of his legal issues, he stopped poking eyes. So I guess that was just, he took his frustration of not being able to poke anybody in the eye out on the world. And then DC's like, well, I'll do it. He worked for him in the UFC, so I'll do it. And that was the reason why it took so long for this rubber match, because Stipe was healing from eye surgery due to an eye poke from DC. And early on, I think it was first round, maybe second round, DC just does this thing where his fingers are out and he's trying to like grab your hand or whatever, but his fingers are out and they're constantly going towards the face of his opponent, and it's I would say dirty, but he's not going to be fighting anymore. He's retired. He lost the fight. Which I thought was a really great fight. I thought Stipe controlled it pretty much the entire time. Although DC did, after that eye poke, he came back in that next round. I thought he won that round. But other than that, I think he lost all of the rounds. I mean, he clipped Stipe a bunch of times, but never really hurt him. Got him wobbled a little bit, but Cormier got hit with probably the majority of those punches, and good win for Stipe Miocic, the best heavyweight of all time. And it'll be interesting to see him versus Ngannou too, to see if Ngannou can do better than his first attempt. And I'm glad Daniel Cormier can retire. He can retire, he can heal up, and he can go back to... I love Daniel Cormier calling fights. I think he's a great commentator. I think he's a great ambassador for the sport. But as a fighter and as his like legacy as being like this great great MMA fighter, I don't know. I don't give him as much credit as so many other people do. But it is what it is. The co-main event, Marlon Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley. I was looking forward to this one as well. I was very high on Sean O'Malley. Most of my picks did not go through, even though I did pick Stipe. Sean O'Malley pretty much suffered the same thing that happened a few fights ago when he received a low calf kick and it just shut his ankle down. At least I believe. I don't think there was actual structural injuries, but it took him out and he wasn't able to do anything. I guess Vera was able to get him out of there pretty quick. Kind of the only time you've ever seen Sean O'Malley take damage. So we'll see. I'm sure he'll come back stronger than ever. They were both up-and-coming fighters, so very interesting to see Vera in his next fight. I think he's probably close to fighting for the belt, I would imagine, especially taking that all that steam, all that energy that was being put behind Sean O'Malley. Kind of deflated that a bit, so we'll see. Rosenstrike looked great against Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos kind of towards the end of his career, I would say. He's had kind of glimpses of kind of a resurrection, as it were. But for the most part, I think it's just he's just going to be taking damage in a damage-filled division in heavyweight. Where Rosenstrike looked good, he was measured, he took his time, and it only took him. It just takes Rosenstrike very similar in a lot of ways to, I mean, a lot of heavyweights, but Ngannou is where if he clips you, it's generally the beginning of the end. Although I think Ngannou hits harder than Rosenstrike, but Rosenstrike nonetheless was able to clip Junior and take him out of there. John Dodson versus Merab Dvalishvili. Great fight for Merab. John Dodson just wasn't able to do anything. He's been... I'm a fan of John Dodson, despite the fact that he's hard to watch for the past few years. It seems like mentally... not so much in this fight, but a lot of the times mentally he'll get in his own head and he'll just... Like, there'll be... a lot of the times it'll be... like referee calls that he's not getting or the other guy is getting, and he just gets emotional and almost it feels like he throws the fight away sometimes. This one, he seemed like he was in it to win it, but I think Merab just did more, was able to control more, and just outworked him. Jim Miller lost. I was hoping he would win. Against Pichel. He started off looking pretty good, but ended up getting dominated for the most part. Felice Herrig, I thought, would win. She got dominated. Super quick armbar first round. But yeah, overall, fun night of fights. Really excited. I was really nervous for the heavyweight fight, but it was... a great fight, nonetheless. Great fight, despite the eye poke that looked horrible. I mean, DC, apparently he's got a torn cornea, so hopefully that heals up and he doesn't lose his vision or whatever. But his eye looked pretty wonky after that eye poke. But he had already poked Stipe in the eye prior to that, so they both got their eye pokes in, which is just kind of horrible, but. Great fight for Stipe. Just well-rounded. Like his attack was so good. It's great game planning, controlling him on the fence, not really allowing DC to get off doing what he does, despite DC actually being able to get off here and there. But it wasn't enough. Too little, too late. So next Saturday, UFC on ESPN, Munhoz versus Edgar, August 22nd. Another fight in the Apex, which those heavyweight fights in the Apex were definitely fun to watch. Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Edgar, first time at bantamweight. Pedro Munhoz, I think this was scheduled previously, and it could have been the coronavirus, or maybe there was an injury or something like that. But I'm looking forward to that. Frankie Edgar, one of my favorite fighters of all time, just kind of that workhorse. He was one of the most impressive lightweight champions at such a small, he was always small for his weight class. This is probably the first time he's fighting at his what should be his natural weight class. But some of his fights in lightweight were just some of the most classic in a time pre-USADA. Frankie Edgar, lightweight champion, which is that division is insane right now, but he was the champion, the king of that division during a time where PEDs and steroids and TRT were everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see how, that was almost a decade ago when Frankie was dominating lightweight. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks at bantamweight. OSP is back against Alonzo Menafield for light heavyweight. I'm looking forward to that. Ovince St. Preux, always fun to watch, especially if he gets another Von Flue choke. But yeah, just should be fun. I don't think there's any Austin Hubbard. Should be fun to watch. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other names that are standing out. But again, sometimes on these cards with, not a lot of the big names, they have a lot more to prove. So it should be a fun night of fights. I'm looking forward to it next Saturday. On ESPN, UFC on ESPN, Munhoz versus Edgar. But yeah, fun night of fights. And then Paige Van Zandt apparently got picked up by bare knuckle fighting, which I think is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. For somebody who talked nonstop about how she makes so much money getting her Instagram sponsorships, to sign with an organization where you're probably going to look different after you're done there. Probably not the best business strategy, even though I'm sure she got paid. I don't know if it's worth it. It's not like she's exceptional at boxing. It's not. I mean, she's very tough. But as far as her fights in the UFC, like, she was never like a standout boxer. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that just seems like the dumbest kind of career move of all. But it's her career. She can do what she wants. It seemed like all signs were pointing to her going to Bellator, and I bet it was just like everything got in her own head, and she's just like, she's doing this to shut up trolls for some reason instead of trying to advance her career. I don't know. Just doesn't seem like a good idea. Go sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/inspired disorder. There you can binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free. That's right, binge all 7 episodes without any ads. Do it now. Sign up, patreon.com/inspired disorder. Other benefits include saving money on the many faces, downloading Photoshops, and so many more things to come. So go sign up now, only $3 a month, patreon.com/inspired disorder. Also, if you're into reading, specifically reading on a Kindle, sign up for Kindle Unlimited. Get a free trial when you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Kindle. That's KINDLE. That's where you get unlimited reading, unlimited listening on any device through Kindle. Get Kindle Unlimited when you sign up through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Kindle. Sign up, get a free trial, get your reading on, get your audiobook listening on. It's a great service. Highly recommend it. Check it out now, inspireddisorder.com/Kindle, KINDLE. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!